Hello, everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and I want to give you my prediction of Jose Baez's defense of Shanna Gardner. All right. A lot of people are talking about this right now, and they're wondering, she just hired him, and we all know him from the Casey Anthony case. He got her off with a ridiculous story about Casey's daddy molesting her and killing off Kelly. Just nonsense, but it worked. So, what will he do with the Shanna Gardner case? All right, I want to give you my prediction on this. Now, if you're unaware of this particular case, let me see if I can make it really small, really short and easy for you. All right. All right, there are a bunch of people involved in this case. Let me start with just who Shanna is, so you know who got killed in this case. All right, Shanna was married to Jared Bridegan in 2010. They're both from Utah, Mormon families, both incredibly wealthy. They married, everything looked happy. They had 2 children, seemed like life was good. But in 2015, they got divorced. And ever since then, they've been fighting custody battle year after year after year. It's been really nasty. I'm not going to get into all of that. Just let's say it was ongoing nastiness. Meanwhile, he remarried and had another child, a daughter. She remarried a guy by the name of Mario Fernandez Saldana. She married him in 2018. All right. Now, let's take a look at what happened here. He was dropping off the children one day at the house she shared with her husband, her new husband. All right. He dropped off the children, the 2, and he left that house. He had his daughter with a second wife in the back seat. He's driving along this road, and this road is like one way this way and one way that way. So he comes along this road, and there's a tire sitting in the middle of the road, blocking his way. So he stops. He gets out to remove the tire. And when he does that, somebody pops out and kills him. His daughter survives. She's in the back seat. He's dead. Now, they're like, what the heck? What happened here? Who did this kind of thing? Well, this I'll show you who the guy was who actually pulled the trigger, because he has confessed to it. His name is Henry Tenon. He was in jail. He's like a felon of like decades of felon types of crimes. I mean, he's a nasty piece of work. He was already in jail when he was charged with Bridegan's murder. He was serving time as a felon in possession of a firearm. Now, look at the second part here. Online records showed he lived at the 5200 block of Potomac Avenue, a property Mario Saldana. That is the husband. That is the husband of Shanna. Okay, let me go back and put that picture up so you can see it. So this Shanna, she shouldn't know this guy, right? But she does know who this guy is, because her husband, the one in the middle, rented to this guy one of his properties, not where they live, but one of his properties he rented to Henry Tenon. Now, so he owned that property and he rented it to him. He lived at the property for, what is that? Oh, let's see, 5 years. He pleaded guilty. He pleaded guilty to second-degree murder on March 16th. And as part of the plea, he agreed to testify truthfully, well, as much as a felon ever will, and a psychopath, against any co-defendants. Well, who are the co-defendants? That would be Shanna on the right and Mario in the middle, because they're the married couple whose house the poor ex-husband was dropping the children off at. And when the ex-husband leaves their house, lo and behold, what happens? A tire appears in the middle of the road. Now, generally speaking, complete strangers, people with no particular reason to want to kill you, don't just toss a tire out into the road, stop you, shoot you, and looky there, they happen to know these people. A coinky dink? I don't think so. So anyway, he's guilty, he's confessed, and he's going to take down, theoretically, Shanna and Mario. Okay. So now the question is this. How How are the lawyers going to handle this? Now, Mario's lawyer, I think he's going to handle it this way. There's a thing called folie à deux. Folie à deux is where two people get together and they have this craziness that happens between them. In other words, if they hadn't met, they wouldn't have done such a thing. But they met, and therefore they had this delusion that they needed to do something terrible, and they did it together. But if you're Mario, what happens in a folie à deux is that his lawyer will say that what they say is there's always a stronger person in the relationship. And the lawyer, for him, if he's smart, will say, Shanna was that stronger person. She was the one who made him do what he did. In other words, she's dominant. It was her kids. It was her fight. And poor old Mario, he met this really rich woman, this beautiful, rich woman. And he was so taken by her that he'd do anything for her. And she told him over and over again what needed to be done. You need to take out my ex-husband. If you don't, I'll never be happy. The kids, I'll have to suffer through these horrible custody hearings forever and ever. Please, please, Mario, save me, save me. And she pushed him and pressured him and changed his mind from being a law-abiding citizen to desperately finding a way to help his wife. So he said to him, could you take that guy out, because then my wife will be happy? So I think that's what his lawyer is going to do. He's going to say it's folie à deux. Folie à deux. I wouldn't have done this except for her, and she was the dominant one. She made me do it. But I think that was Marion Barry in D.C. They said, the bitch made me do it. All right. So I think that's going to be Mario's defense. But then what about Jose Baez? Can he use that defense for her? It doesn't work too well, because if she's dominant in this folie à deux, she's in trouble, right? So that can't be his defense. What do I think he's going to say? Well, I'm going to say this. He's going to say folie à deux never occurred. What happened was she was an emotional woman who she was struggling with an ex-husband who had been, he'll come up with something, brutal to her, vicious toward her, cheated on her, was a terrible father, was a terrible husband. He'll come up with a whole bunch of stories, whether they're true or not. And he's going to say she struggled for year upon year upon year trying to save her children from her ex-husband. She wanted only to protect her children. And in doing so, she expressed herself. She expressed herself to her husband, Mario Fernandez Saldana. She expressed herself to him. She said, I don't know what to do anymore. I keep fighting him year after year. I just want my children to be safe. I want my children to be with me. Oh, Mario, I don't know what to do. She never told Mario that he should hire a hitman to kill her ex-husband. She never did that. Oh, she kind of said to some guy in the gym once when they were hanging out that she wished somebody would disappear her husband. Did he know anyone who could do it? She does admit to that. But, that was just one of those things you express. Sometimes you say things like, it'd be nice if my husband got hit by a truck. It'd be nice if my husband just accidentally fell off a cliff. So, if accidentally I asked you to have a hitman, find me a hitman, it's the same thing. Of course, it's not the same thing at all. But hey, this is Jose Baez, and he can spin anything. He can spin anything to fool the jury. So I think he's going to go with all she was an emotional woman who expressed to her new husband how she was suffering, and she only wanted to save her children from her evil ex-husband. And she had no idea that this guy that he'd been running to for years was that kind of a creep, that this guy was such a violent person that it would be easy for her husband to hire him and get him to kill off her ex-husband. She never thought he would do that. She never thought, oh my God, even if I expressed that, I never thought he'd do anything like that. I was just shocked that he did that. Shocked. I think that's going to be Jose Baez's defense of Shanna. Will it work? Well, let me put it this way. in general, juries are softer toward women. Juries tend to believe that men are the violent perpetrators and women are just emotional wrecks. And she couldn't have forced him into doing such a thing with a folie à deux dominance thing. No, she just fell apart every time the kids came and all these things happened. And her husband she didn't realize her husband would go to those lengths. I think it could work. Now, some people will say, hey, Pat, did you just give him a defense for this woman? And my answer to this is, this is Jose Baez. He's no idiot. Personally, I can't stand the guy. I don't like him. I think he's unethical and horrible, but he's a good defense lawyer. So I think he's going to figure this out on his own. He doesn't need Pat Brown, the profiler, to tell him how to defend his client. However, that's the only defense I think is reasonable for a defense attorney to come up with to convince a jury that she has nothing to do with it. So far, as far as I know, the checks, first of all, this was a property her husband rented to this guy. So the connection is between him and her husband. Also, there's some checks between him and her husband. So except for her little faux pas in the gym telling somebody she kind of, what was she? Maybe, somebody will get rid of my husband. Okay, that was just a little faux pas. And I didn't mean that. Except for that, is there anything physically connecting, like phone calls, checks, any discussions that were recorded with her talking to him about killing her husband? If those things aren't in existence, he may get away with saying, I was just being emotional. I didn't realize my husband was going to carry this off. Do I think a jury will fall for it? I'd give it an 80% chance that they will, because he's good. He's good. And as long as they have the real killer, the guy who actually pulled the trigger, he's done. Her husband, he's going down, because unless his lawyer can pull off the folie à deux that she made him do and he couldn't help himself, his mental state was such he had to do whatever she told him. Unless he can pull that off, and it's a dude, so I don't think it's going to work. I think the two guys are going to go down, but I think she's got a chance of getting off because she's got the money to hire Jose Baez. That's my thoughts on this. If you're new to my channel, please do like and subscribe and click the bell for notifications, and check my playlist for other cases that I've watched. And I don't know if I'll be talking about this case anytime in the near future, but I will come back, especially at the point where I find out whether he is using that defense or he's not using that defense. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.